This is really a culmination of almost 3 years of work and conversations that are part of the Growing Transit Communities effort and the Regional Equity Network. So this particular summit is really an opportunity for community members, philanthropy, and local government and policymakers to come together and have these conversations. And we're extremely excited that actually community members and community organizations make up the majority of the people that are here today. So I think we want to give a shout out for that because that's extremely important.
You see the faces around you of folks who are touched by this work in many, many ways. Many of us have been around prior to us using the term equity. Part of our commitment for this work is how do we make that turn the equity work into action?
But we're going to meet some people tonight who I say are holding back the tide. These are people who, like you, are contributing to making sure that positive things are happening in our neighborhood and in our city.
We engage community members from communities that are impacted, and we get them involved in the process. We get them to meetings. We don't ask them to do it at a cost to themselves. Yes, a lot of times when we invite community, we're asking them to pay to participate. They're having to take time off work. They're having to pay for childcare, while the rest of us policymakers are sitting around the table being paid, and we can't figure out why they're not there.
We haven't really been engaging the communities enough to change the policies and the systems that are perpetuating these inequities. So that's one of the things that we have been trying to do, is really mobilize our communities because they have to raise their voice.
We educate our staff on the issues, whatever the issues may be, if it's, around, the educational issues, police reform, getting our zoning change, whatever. We educate our staff about the issues because then they are the organizers that go back and interact with their participants at parent meetings, at home visit, making home visits, talking to the youth that we teach in the school.
So about a year ago in Atlanta, we had a referendum that the business community and other powers that be wanted passed around a penny sales tax that would have created close to $8.5 billion for transportation in the metropolitan Atlanta region. So we basically had a Power of the Penny campaign where we went to the transit stations and educated folks about the opportunity and how they needed to get involved. Now, publicly, we didn't take a stand either for or against it, but what we were for was the people and the people's input. And the referendum failed. It failed. But what it did was it created a new conversation and a new opportunity for people to be involved in the process and for this new way of doing work and not just seeing equity as me taking away from you so I can have what I need. But at the end of the day, in order for us to move forward as a region, equity has to be used as a paradigm for change and growth if we want to be sustainable and competitive.
There was a keynote speaker that had come out from Kellogg Foundation and who had said that to have the wide array and of partners, including residents from communities that are impacted by issues of equity, it's not commonly done across the country.
And so here we are in the 21st century, and we're talking about equity, and we're talking about inequity, and we're talking about disparities. And what we try to do at the Kellogg Foundation with our focus on America healing and racial healing, we try to get people to see that all of these things are but symptoms of a much deeper challenge. We will not get the right solutions until we frame the problem right. And we as a country and we as regions are not framing the problem right. The problem is not the symptom to be treated. It's the undergirding belief that it's okay for some people to have and others to have not when it comes to opportunity. And so we have to be organized, we have to be steadfast, and we have to understand that we are in the business not of change. We are in the business of transforming. We're in the business of helping America realize its democratic ideals, which it has never realized.
We in this room have an opportunity to do something that's not been done well before. We have an opportunity to make an impact that will change outcomes for everyone.
When she was talking, I heard a ton of policy things, but a policymaker probably did read, oh, it's an interesting story. But I heard all the ways that the system failed her, from her teacher not interrupting the bullying, to systems not supporting her parents so they wouldn't be under so much economic stress, to the fact that it should be a half-mile distance between, but I can hear that. But can a policymaker hear that? Decode what she just said into a series of policies? They cannot. And so I spend time going, how do we transform your story into something policymakers can finally hear?
We continue to organize, and the community is continuing to organize, because our next goal, or our next project really is to continue to engage the city of Tukwila in relation to the strategic plan of Tukwila, because soon they will be dealing with like the neighborhood and housing elements of the strategic plan, and that Rainbow Haven and other residents are involved, so that we look at how the strategic plan addresses development around the light rail station, and to say specifically that development has to include the development of improved affordable housing, and has to address the threat of displacement of communities like this.
How can data and mapping help us to make a case for promoting equity in Tacoma and Pierce County? So I'm going to write the questions on the board. I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to talk about it, and then you'll have one person from each group tell us what your outcomes were.
Looking at those opportunity maps, that really the highest opportunity, best access opportunity is in sort of Seattle core, North Seattle, East Side, not as much.
The summit was a great success in the sense that it showed that there's a real interest beyond now just actually understanding that we have inequities here in our area, which people have an increasing understanding of. It's really focusing on action, that there are some issues that everybody is embracing.
So we definitely want to figure out how we continue this path, how to really build more relationships that can continue the work of equity. We'd like to have another summit in the future. We want to make sure that we're even more inclusive of other partners and other ethnic groups and communities that weren't able to participate in this first summit.